The people that you create soul ties with is going to make or break your trajectory in life. It's going to make or break how you see yourself, how you live life, and just everything else in that area. The reason why I say this is because the moment you lay down with that person, the moment you intertwine with them, and sometimes you don't even have to lay down with them. Sometimes, if you're just being too intimate, you're having too many conversations, you're getting too close, you guys are bonding in a sense, right? Soul ties is, in other words, if we were to remove the spiritual, attributes or the spiritual side to it, it just means a really deep attachment. We can create soul ties and these attachments to anything, people, places, or things, but we typically create them to things, not things, but people, right? Things too, when we start getting into like money and, houses, cars, and stuff like that, those are soul ties as well. But the main thing is the people, right? What I've noticed on this trajectory and what a lot of other spiritual teachers and, healers would tell you guys on this path is be careful of the person that you lay down with because there's energy transfers that happen. You guys start wondering, like, how come after I started messing with this person, after I started, getting to know them and stuff like that, my life started, messing up. You started getting tired all of a sudden. You were lacking motivation to do certain things. There was blockages in your life. Like a motherfucker will walk into your life and your shit will start breaking. On like the things, their energy. I always say this. Some people have this spirit of like loss, regret, just negativity surrounding them. Not necessarily because that's what they want, or not because that's necessarily because they're a low vibrational person. It's the frequency or the consciousness that they're sitting at, right? And we're not going to be like, oh, they're choosing to sit at that conscious level, because nobody chooses. I really don't think anybody who truly did know better would choose to not do better. The problem is that these people are they're on a certain path in their healing journey. They're in like a certain chapter that may be different from yours. So you may have learned certain lessons, you may have removed yourself from certain energies, and you may have closed certain cycles that they haven't closed yet, right? And then by you getting close to that person, getting intimate with that person, laying down with that person, the lessons that they now had on them somewhat get transferred over to you. Like, man, there's been instances where I'm almost certain you thought that you were anxious, you thought that you were feeling some type of way, you thought that something was going wrong, you were picking up on something. Long and behold, you were feeling somebody else's energy. And since you didn't know that you had a soul tied to that person, you thought that you were actually anxious. You thought that you were insecure. You thought that you were stuck in certain cycles. So you started thinking and acting and sitting at the vibration of that thought pattern, not knowing that the only reason why you feel that way and the only reason why those thought patterns are coming up is because of the energetic cord that you have to that person. This is why emotional intelligence is very important, because a lot of times you guys start feeling things. You're feeling a certain way, thinking that it's a problem with you, thinking that there's something wrong with you, when in reality, you're feeling the energies of people that you need to cut off. In other words, you're feeling the energy of people that you need to remove yourself from. And if you aren't aware that it's their energy that you're feeling and not yours, well, you're going to get put in some very awkward situations, because you're going to be sitting in healing journeys that's not yours. That happens every day so much. People are sitting in healing journeys and in healing phases trying to fix things that's not their problems. They've Too many of us are picking up journals doing deep healing and shadow work for other people. When other people's problems get put onto us spiritually, and then we start digging into that shadow work thinking that it's our work, we're healing their karma. They're not usually doing the same thing. The reason why you're healing their karma is because they couldn't heal their own goddamn karma. So what makes you think that they're going to be able to heal your karma? They weren't even at the level to handle theirs. When you create soul ties and these energetic cords and these connections with people, they have to be a people that's of your caliber, of your ranking spiritually. They have to be sitting at your level, or else it's going to imbalance you. And I know it's kind of hard for us to see these type of things, engage these type of individuals when we're very first getting into our healing journeys and learning how to actually use discernment. But I promise you, I promise you, I promise you, once you actually start being able to decipher a high vibrational being versus somebody who's probably just in your life just to take from you or create chaos, the ways that you go about gauging who you actually interact with becomes a little bit better, because something that you start learning too, the outside isn't always the truth. You can be looking at somebody and think that they're such a low vibrational toxic person, but when you actually get into the roots and the depths of who that person is, like yourself, they have very loving and very understanding and a very wise perspective to life. However, the ways that they chose to interact and show those qualities to the world was a little bit watered down because it just wasn't serving their objective. So a lot of us, a lot of empaths too, we water ourselves down on purpose because we know our truest, deepest, most authentic selves isn't sometimes ready yet for the world to receive, because it's always going to be ready at a certain point in time, because that's the reason why we're here. But sometimes it's not ready yet, so we water ourselves down. Now it can be the complete opposite, which we typically run into, which is the type of things that you need to be careful of, because especially if I was to like tie it back to my own like experiences, my worst soul ties came from this type of archetype, right? And the type of person who they look amazing on the outside. They look like it's just flying colors. It's one of those things where it's like we get along so well, nothing can go so wrong, like nothing go wrong. I'm having difficulty seeing your flaws. They're bringing up their past and all this other type of stuff, and they were the victim in every single instance. I mean, everything on the planet. Those were the people who, once I actually got close to them, once they actually started learning who I was or anything like that, their true colors actually started to show. But by time their true colors had showed, the soul tie was already created. So once their true colors got showed, it was hard for me to back away and let go and step away from that person, environments, and things, because of the soul tie that was created while they were acting in good grace. It's always a beautiful thing when somebody shows you they're ugly, shows you their faults from the beginning, because you know that they're not necessarily trying to hide anything, they're being truthful. Always respect people who give you warnings. If they People who act like they're good and then let you find out after you done already created a soul tie with them are low-key devilish people. You need to look for the people who are somewhat open and being honest, like, yeah, I do these type of things, I have these traits. Like, they're giving you fair warnings and then letting you choose whether or not that you step forward and you get yourself involved with them. Because even if it is a low vibrational person, quote unquote, just the fact that they were being honest and truthful, that was a high frequency trait, right? That's a level of having high self-esteem, being honest and truthful about where you at and where you're standing and the damage that you could or could not cause somebody. When you create a soul tie to somebody who is jealous to you or jealous of you, envious of you, that is even worse than just dealing with just like normal jealousy and envy. The reason why I say this is because when you create a soul tie with somebody who's jealous or envious of you and you aren't aware of it, they'll be siphoning your energy. Like, I mean, in real time, they'll be catching blessings that were probably meant for you, but since they were siphoning your energy, they caught the blessing and you didn't. Not because the blessing was meant for them, or not because anything like that. Like, not because the blessing wasn't meant for you and it was meant for them. It was because they were harnessing and tapping into your energy source based upon that soul tie. So since they found a way into that energetic pool of energy, they were able to capitalize off that energy. Meanwhile, you in your spiritual realm, you feel another entity capitalizing off that, that it's like a drainage. You feel it, and then it throws you off balance. Now all of a sudden, like what I said earlier in the video, you're tired, you're lacking motivation, you're missing blessings, you're not getting the phone calls that you were getting, you're not getting the same opportunities, you're not making the same money. All of that shit was because of the person that you were attached to. Because crazy enough, if you want to be able to acknowledge whether you have a unhealthy or toxic soul tie, pay attention to the phases that happen in people's life. right? If you're always at a down and that just so happens to be the moment everybody else around you that you're attached to is up, that's showing you something about the soul ties that you attach to. Now I'm telling you from literal experience. Now if you put that energy back into yourself and you start noticing that your life starts fixing and the things that you detach from, it starts to somewhat decline, it's a clear exhibit that that entity right there was siphoning off of your energy based upon the soul tie. That's what I mean. So if you when you're creating soul ties and these energetic alignments and these energetic connections with people, it always has to be with people who are sitting not like either at your frequency or higher than your frequency in order for you to actually grow and maintain where you're at. And if it is somebody that's sitting at a higher frequency than you, this is why I said before the principle of telling the truth and being honest with somebody is so fucking powerful. Because if you're honest with somebody and you tell them from the start, like, hey, this is what's going on, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, they might actually be like, you know what, that's okay. You know what? I see all the other good qualities and I think that they outweigh them. I'm not saying that I'm oblivious to them, but I say I give a fuck more about what's over here than what's over there. Just off the fact that you were honest. But if you were trying to be a little sneaky motherfucker, then that's how all this like trauma and manipulation and heartbreak starts happening because people aren't truthful the whole way through. How you start the relationship is how you're going to end the relationship. And if you aren't being 100 from the start, the chances of anything else like that falling through or anything better than what you gave from the beginning happening at the end is going to be very slim. This is why I be telling people all these situationships and shit like that. It's kind of crazy. Like we be getting our feelings hurt and we be getting our emotions involved with people who made it clear from the start that they didn't want a relationship with us, and we accepted it. And then we thought that along the line something was going to change, and it was like, no, that's what you accepted from the very beginning, the bare necessities, the bare minimum. So that's exactly what you're going to keep receiving. Now, that over time is going to create a soul tie, of course. Now, the moment that one person gets their emotions involved or they elevate their frequency, they elevate their standpoint, is going to be trauma right there. It's going to be conflict because now somebody's going to want to push the relationship to a level that, you know, they want, they're going to want to elevate it, and the other one's going to have commitment issues and all this other type of stuff, literally draining your energy. Now you're sitting there crying, assed out, wondering, like, are you loved? And all this other type of shit solely because of the person that you're choosing to lay down with, sleep with, talk to every day, get to know every day, and shit like that. We act like the people, and this is why they also tell you solitude is the man's best friend. Same thing goes with celibacy. When you stay to yourself, when you're by yourself, you have so much time to harness and captivate and direct your energy. And it's not even saying that you got to stop even releasing, or for the women, you know, I think the same thing. I'm not even think the same thing. I'm just gonna say releasing because we're on YouTube. You feel me? Releasing that energy. You don't even have to do that, but doing it with other people. Are you guys catching it? What I'm saying? You can still nurture and harness that energy within you without needing to go outward to other people and get them to soothe that need for you. The same thing with loving yourself, talking to yourself, paying attention to yourself, healing yourself, being your own therapist. These things is real because crazy enough, you have the wisdom and the psyche to heal yourself. Just like we can heal our bodies if you fall and your body creates this fucking scab or like a open wound. While it's open, you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. I can't deal with this, but the body has already started healing what's going on. Over time, that open wound is going to become a scab, and they're going to be like, oh my God, well, yeah, it doesn't hurt, but this still irritating me. Okay, well, let me scratch it and be like, that's, you know, you fucking with it because you can still see it and somewhat feel it, but it's not at the depths of what it was before. And then eventually, once you get your mind off of it and you start living life again, the scab is no longer there. Now, depending on how deep it is, you may have a scar, which may, you know, make you a little bit cautious doing certain things going forward because you don't want to end up with that same scar. But if the wound wasn't that deep, you're just going to go on about your life and you're going to continue healing and moving forward. And that's the same thing with our emotional standpoint. If you allow your emotions and your psyche to naturally just heal yourself, your mind will tell you what needs to get done. Don't do this and do this. Do this, do that. Don't do that, do that. This isn't worth your time. This may get your feelings hurt. Like if you listen to yourself, you're going to start healing yourself But too many of us, we're not at that point because why? We have so many soul ties. The thoughts that we're listening to aren't even our thoughts. Our soul ties that we have is draining us to where we don't have levels of clarity and we don't understand ourselves. There's so many things that happen the moment you create a soul tie to shit that's not meant for you, which is why I'm going to keep saying in these videos, a lot of y'all need to go on celibacy journeys. It don't even got to be for years upon years. Man, you just try 3 months, 6 months, where you just don't give yourself out. And when all that energy that you were focused on trying to get down and dirty and make new friends and all this other type of stuff, pour it into you. Start picking up some books, start working out, start making content, start going back to school, finish your homework. I don't know what stage you're at in life, but you have something else that you can do other than create soul ties to the things that's making it harder for you to do the things that you say you want to do in life. Period. So yeah, with that being said, I love you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys. My one-on-ones is down in the description as well as my books. And I'm gonna see you on the next video. Peace.